Listen and improve your English. Steve Jobs, a visionary and game changer. Part 1. The Early Years. In the heart of the vibrant city of San Francisco, on February 24, 1955, a child named Steve Jobs was born, but the path to his destiny was anything but straightforward. Adopted by Paul and Clara Jobs, his family soon relocated to Mountain View, California, an area that would later be known as Silicon Valley, the hub of technology and innovation. Growing up, Jobs was a restless spirit with a relentless curiosity. His adoptive father, a mechanic and carpenter, had a profound influence on him. His father's workshop was his playground, and it was there that Jobs learned the importance of design, quality, and workmanship, principles that would later define his professional ethos. As a teen, Jobs was not your average Joe. He was more interested in electronics than sports or social activities, and it didn't take long for him to find like-minded individuals. One such individual was Steve Wozniak, a tech whiz who shared Jobs' passion for electronics. Despite the 5-year age gap, Jobs was in high school, while Wozniak was attending the University of California. They hit it off like a house on fire. Their friendship was the spark that would later ignite the personal computing revolution. In 1972, Jobs graduated from Homestead High School and, like a fish out of water, began studying at Reed College in Portland, Oregon. However, formal education was not his cup of tea, and he dropped out after 6 months. He continued auditing classes, including a calligraphy class that he claimed had a significant impact on his meticulous attention to typography and design in Apple products. While in Oregon, Jobs took a job as a technician at Atari, a manufacturer of popular video games. His stint at Atari was not just a job to pay the bills. It was the stepping stone to his dream. He saved up his earnings, and in 1974, he embarked on a journey to India in search of spiritual enlightenment. This trip was a turning point for Jobs, further fueling his countercultural beliefs and shaping his approach to business and technology. By 1976, Jobs was back in California and ready to take the bull by the horns. The stage was set for the birth of Apple Computer Inc., a venture that would transform not just Jobs' life, but also the world of technology forever. In this chapter of his life, Jobs demonstrated 2 idiomatic expressions: hit it off like a house on fire, which means to quickly develop a close relationship with someone, and take the bull by the horns, which means to confront a problem or a difficult situation directly and decisively. These expressions encapsulate Steve Jobs' ability to build strong relationships and his determination to tackle challenges head-on, traits that played a key role in his success. Part 2. The Birth and Growth of Apple. In 1976, Jobs, together with Wozniak and Ronald Wayne, founded Apple Computer Inc. in the Jobs family garage. The fledgling company's first product was the Apple I computer, hand-built by Wozniak. Although it was far from a runaway success, it laid the groundwork for their next creation, the Apple II. Launched in 1977, the Apple II was a game changer. It was one of the first highly successful mass-produced microcomputers, and it set Apple on the path to becoming a household name. With Jobs at the helm, Apple was no longer a small fish in a big pond. The company grew rapidly, and by the end of the decade, Apple went public, turning Jobs into a multimillionaire at the age of 25. But success didn't make Jobs rest on his laurels. He was known for his intense work ethic and his pursuit of perfection. He had a knack for seeing the bigger picture and for understanding what consumers wanted before they even knew it themselves. The 80s were a time of highs and lows for Jobs. In 1984, Apple launched the Macintosh, the first personal computer to be sold without a programming language. Its introduction, famously announced in a Super Bowl commercial directed by Ridley Scott, aimed to make technology accessible to the everyday person. The Macintosh was revolutionary, but its sales were initially slow. The company was dealt another blow when, in 1985, Jobs and Apple's CEO at the time, John Sculley, clashed heads. This resulted in Jobs being stripped of his managerial duties. Feeling as though the rug had been pulled out from under him, Jobs sold all but one of his Apple shares and resigned later that year. In retrospect, it's clear that these trials and tribulations were not setbacks, but setups for Jobs' extraordinary comeback. His departure from Apple marked the beginning of a new chapter, one in which he would push the boundaries even further and pave the way for his triumphant return to the company he co-founded. In this part of Jobs' life, we see the idioms rest on one's laurels, which means to be satisfied with one's past successes and to consider further effort unnecessary, and the rug had been pulled out from under him, which means to suddenly take away support or assistance from someone, or to suddenly upset someone's plans or expectations. Despite his success, Jobs never rested on his laurels, and even when the rug was pulled out from under him at Apple, he continued to innovate and strive for excellence. Part 3. Next, Pixar and Apple's Renaissance. After leaving Apple, Jobs was far from down and out. In fact, he was just warming up. He purchased the computer division of Lucasfilm in 1986, which he transformed into Pixar Animation Studios. This venture might have seemed like a wild goose chase to some, but Jobs had an uncanny knack for spotting potential. Pixar went on to redefine animated cinema with hits like Toy Story and Finding Nemo, and was eventually sold to Disney, making Jobs Disney's largest individual shareholder. Around the same time, Jobs founded a new computer company called Next. The company specialized in creating high-end computers for the education and business sector. While Next computers themselves didn't set the world on fire in terms of sales, they did contribute something incredibly important to the technology world. Next's operating system became the foundation for Mac OS X, Apple's future computer operating system. In a twist of fate, in 1996, Apple, struggling without Jobs' leadership, bought Next, bringing Jobs back into the fold. This move was like a shot in the arm for Apple. Jobs wasted no time in reclaiming his position at the company, and in 2000, he became the permanent CEO. This marked the start of Apple's renaissance, with Jobs at the helm once again. The first decade of the 21st century saw Apple release a string of innovative products that captured the public imagination. It started with the iPod in 2001, followed by the iTunes Store in 2003, and the iPhone in 2007. Each product was a game-changer in its own right, setting the bar for consumer technology. Jobs wasn't just back in the saddle, he was leading the charge. In this chapter of Jobs' life, we see the idioms a wild goose chase, which refers to a task that is seen as fruitless or without a clear goal, and a shot in the arm, meaning something that has a sudden and positive effect on something, providing encouragement and new activity. Jobs' investment in Pixar might have initially seemed like a wild goose chase, but it ended up being incredibly successful. Similarly, his return to Apple was the shot in the arm the company needed to get back on track. Part 4. The Final Years and Lasting Legacy. By the late 2000s, Apple was riding high. The iPhone was a huge hit, followed by the introduction of the iPad in 2010, both of which transformed Apple into one of the most valuable companies in the world. Despite these successes, Jobs was fighting a personal battle. He had been diagnosed with a rare form of pancreatic cancer in 2004. Never one to throw in the towel, Jobs continued to work and innovate through his illness, even introducing the iPhone 4 to the world while on medical leave. In 2011, Jobs stepped down as CEO of Apple, passing the torch to Tim Cook. In his resignation letter, he expressed his belief that the brightest and most innovative days are ahead for Apple. Unfortunately, Jobs passed away later that year, but his spirit of innovation and his relentless pursuit of excellence continue to inspire Apple and countless individuals around the world. Jobs' impact on the technology industry and the world is monumental. He was not just a visionary. He was a trailblazer who wasn't afraid to go against the grain and push the envelope. His innovative products transformed industries, and his unique approach to business and design set a new standard. Today, every time we swipe on a smartphone, listen to a song on our digital devices, or enjoy an animated movie, we are experiencing the ripple effect of Jobs' innovations. Despite his passing, Jobs' influence is still felt in Apple's culture and products. His ethos, the importance of design, the commitment to simplicity, and the courage to defy the odds continues to be the guiding light for Apple. He left behind not just a successful company, but a legacy that will continue to shape the tech landscape for years to come. In this concluding part of Jobs' story, we encounter the idioms to throw in the towel, meaning to give up, especially in a situation where you're facing significant challenges, and to pass the torch, which signifies the act of passing on responsibilities or duties to someone else. Despite battling a serious illness, Jobs never threw in the towel, continuing to work and lead Apple. When he realized he could no longer fulfill his duties as CEO, he passed the torch to Tim Cook, ensuring the company he loved was in capable hands. Let's go over the idiomatic expressions used in the text. Hit the ground running. This idiom means to start a job or project quickly and energetically. It usually implies a readiness to work hard from the very beginning. Example: after studying all summer, she hit the ground running when the new school year started. On the brink of. This phrase means very close to or on the verge of something, usually some significant event or situation. Example: the company was on the brink of bankruptcy before the new CEO turned things around. Go down in history. This expression is used when someone or something is remembered for a very long time for having done something extremely good or bad. Example: the 1969 moon landing goes down in history as a remarkable achievement in space exploration. Turn over a new leaf. This idiom means to start behaving in a better way, especially after a period of difficulties or bad behavior. Example: after several years of leading a sedentary lifestyle, he decided to turn over a new leaf and start exercising regularly. Have a bone to pick. This phrase means to have an issue to argue about, or a dispute to confront someone about. Example: I have a bone to pick with you. Why did you not invite me to your party? Throw in the towel. This means to give up, especially when faced with insurmountable odds or difficulties. Example: after trying to fix the old car for hours, he finally threw in the towel and called a mechanic. Pass the torch. This idiom means to pass on responsibilities or duties to someone else, usually to a successor. Example: after serving as president of the club for 2 years, I'm ready to pass the torch to someone else. Go against the grain. This phrase means to do something in the opposite way to what is usually done or accepted, or to have a different opinion from most people. Example: he always goes against the grain, ignoring the trends and setting his own fashion style. Listen and improve your English.